All right, let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Here.
Mr. Kubicki?
Here.
Ms. Hughes?
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the signing of the meeting minutes for the regular meeting minutes of November 8th, 2022. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay, we go to open forum. Do we have anybody for open forum signed in?
I have, I believe this is a Christmas card, and it is from, well, it says, "Thank you so much for the beautiful things you do for the city and the nice block parties. Please tell the maintenance people they do great as well. Sincerely, Vicky Ott."
Very nice.
Well, thank you, Vicki. It's
Sweet.
always nice to hear positive.
Sweet lady. She's my friend.
Go ahead.
I've had a number of residents, I'm getting over COVID, so my voice is still shaky. It was 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
I've had a number of residents speak to me about the changes at Camargo and Plainville and the roads. And it's causing some real backups down there. And we've been trying to find out what the genesis of those changes were. Were you all involved in that?
No.
That's a City of Cincinnati project. They were trying to make, I don't know all the details, they were trying to make the intersection more manageable because of safety issues, and also provide a safer crossing for pedestrians from the north side of Madisonville Road and the School of Rock to the south side, because that is kind of an odd intersection. So they put up the safety posts, I forget what they're called, and to guide people to specific lanes, because before there was additional width in all of the lanes without striping. So people were all over the place. And it's a multi-point intersection, so the city came in and did some improvements, mainly for pedestrian safety. And in order to achieve more pedestrian safety, they define the lanes that vehicles are in. But if somebody's interested in knowing the exact specifics, they can call the Department of Transportation and Engineering, DOTE, for the City of Cincinnati.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to reports. First, we start with the fiscal officer's report with Ms. Heekin.
Thank you. So November is the second to last month of our budget year. We only have 1 month to go in 22. The general fund ended with $3,185,294, which is a decrease of 4% from October. Restricted funds were $5,791,159, which is a decrease of 3%. These funds combined total $8,976,453, which is 3.5% lower than October. Revenues for November were $63,029. Expenses were $386,022. Year-to-date revenues are $8,936,659, and expenses are $8,474,861. The second settlement from Hamilton County for the tax revenues occurred early in August. Typically those funds are deposited in September. The next semi-annual settlement will occur in April of 23, and it's always worth repeating that the voter-approved levy revenues do not cover the cost of the township's public services. The business revenues cover more than 80% of the cost of public services in the township, and thanks to the success that the township has in attracting and supporting our businesses, we're able to continue to provide our community with exceptional services at a lower cost.
Thank you. Any questions about the administrator's report? No.
Good.
The fiscal officer.
Oh, sorry, the fiscal officer's report. All right, then we go to the road superintendent report. Dustin Frazier's. Do we have, or Dustin Frazier? Do we have any questions about that?
I'd like to make a comment about our crew, our road maintenance crew. Even though everyone doesn't write a note, sometimes people do. We receive calls from people who see the crew out working and say thank you, that they work really hard. So I wanted to put a fine point on it. Each year, as you know, because I come before you and ask you for approval for hiring 1 to 2 temps when we move into leave season, because it is all day, every day, and requires more than a crew of 4. Typically, we have been successful in getting a temp all the prior years. This year, we had 1 temp who lasted for a couple of days and said it was way too much work. And then we hired another temp who worked a couple of weeks. And after one particularly grueling week of up and down the hills, carrying 50-pound packs on your back, blowing leaves, because we don't just have a leaf vacuum where we drive up and down the street. You know, as you know, our guys wear the leaf blower packs, which are very heavy, so that they can get under parked vehicles, and then the leaf vac can also pick those up so our streets are clean. And this gentleman said, not doing that, that's too much work. So we were unable to get another temp despite contacting multiple agencies. And so our road superintendent, Dustin, went out with the crew nearly every day despite having a full load of administrative, contract, and other duties. So our 4 guys that are out there busting their tails every day, often they just skip lunch just to keep going so that they can power through brush and leaves and all the other regular duties. And when we bring other people in and pay them well to help us out only for 6 to 8 weeks, they can't cut it. So love our crew.
Love the crew too.
Can I add one thing? I completely agree. Next week is the last week, and please have your leaves out by December
Sunday night.
19th. Sunday night.
Before you go to bed.
Yes, the 18th, end of day. They'll start on the 19th, and then they're done, and they're going to move on to snow and ice removal.
Start on the 19th and then work their way through the township one entire rotation again, and then it's Christmas Eve.
Right.
Great job to our
And they're
road crew.
exhausted.
And is it easier to work out there or work in the office with you? Which could be the...
Oh, both. In the office is such a joy. The crew comes in on certain days and says, we'll trade you. And then I start talking about tax increment financing and budget appropriations and contracts that we're working on, and they're like, we're out of here. So far
You run a
we've
tight ship,
escaped
Melissa.
getting out of
You
there.
do know that. All right, then we move on to talk about a tight ship, the administrator's report right back at you.
Okay, so shout out to the staff, all staff, the lead always on my report. The cover photo in my report is one of our crews setting up a 12 to 14 foot tree in front of the firehouse, and it turned out to be quite a wrangling match. It was the day that there were really high winds leading up to our Luminaria event on Thursday the 1st. So we put the tree in that location as a pilot location for where we will have the tree when the Madison Place Firehouse Community and Event Center opens. That will be on our patio. And the tree was beautiful. We had a lot of compliments about it. It truly was a tree rodeo. We do have some, Lauren took some pictures of the guys trying to get it up and keep it up the day that it was really windy. And so that's a thank you to them, and then a recognition that that is going to be a permanent location in the future for our tree, because it's visible from all of the streets around it, and the tree exceeds the height of the firehouse. So we thought that was really beautiful and got a lot of contributions. Because we have another meeting after this, I'm going to try to keep it light. We just completed our final event, so we had 7 full events, which we have not done in years because of COVID. Record attendance as well, and record responses back from people in the community, people in neighboring communities, and businesses. that they really appreciate what we're doing to bring neighbors together, the community together, and other communities into our community, and to provide opportunities for the businesses to showcase their locations as well. So we will restart again in 2023 with St. Patrick's Day in March. A reminder that ice skating is back at the rink at 50 West, free to Columbia Township residents and their guests. Everyone at home received a mailer with a super secret code. If you need a reminder on that, you can call the office and we can whisper that code to you. Everybody really enjoys it. We get a lot of compliments on that as well.
A lot of compliments on that.
Yeah, love it. And it'll be as long as it's cold, so typically through February. So a great holiday activity as well. And school will be out for a couple of weeks, and usually a really a busy time and a fun time. So under our, we are just wrapping up the first phase of the street tree planting for Neighborhood Economic Development Program, our neighborhood enhancement. We installed through our contractor the last few weeks more than 300 trees. The project is still active. What's happening now is that Jerry, our arborist, is going back with the contractor and looking at all of the trees that were planted, making sure that things are cleaned up. All of the trees are mulched. The trees will have, in certain neighborhoods, they will have deer protection on them, and then all trees will be staked, and then once our arborist signs off on that project, we will pay the contractor. It's similar to what we do with road projects. There's a punch list, so to speak. So even though the trees may all appear to be in, there's still some cleanup and fine-tuning that is being done. It was a phenomenal project, and we have before and after pictures. Even though a lot of the leaves are off of the trees, there's still a huge difference in some of the neighborhoods that had entire sides of streets that had no trees, and entrances to neighborhoods that did not have any trees or had overgrown or diseased trees. And then we will do it again next fall for the balance of all of the streets that voted for that. Also, as part of our neighborhood economic development community enhancement program, we were able to refurbish all of the gas lights in Ridgewood, 22 or 24, 25, I forget the number. We completely refurbished the gas lights in Ridgewood. They're vintage. My understanding is they're over 100 years old. So we brought in a custom contractor to strip sand them and repaint them. We went from, we changed out and put all new fittings in the gas head section. I'm botching some of the terminology, but we had single gas lights. We went to double, and also did a new paint job on the caps. And
They're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
They're so beautiful.
Really?
Oh my
Check them
gosh,
out.
they
Yeah.
are. The caps really are.
Yeah, we did a
nice
little accent
touch.
color.
Is it brighter?
On the
Yes.
caps.
Yes, it's brighter. Yes, it's
Yeah.
great. They're beautiful. I love them.
I'm glad to hear that. So
And I know people mentioned they were concerned about them looking new, and everyone that I've talked to loves them. They think they're just perfect.
yeah, they're newer. They are straight. A number of them weren't straight before, but we did not want new in the neighborhood. We wanted to keep the character of the historic neighborhood. But
They're gorgeous.
yeah, thank you for that. And we were fighting the clock on that in terms of the cold with the paint and everything. So made that. On the Madison Place Firehouse, I wanted to share that as we move into preparing for the bid phase, which is final design, final reviews by all the agencies, and then putting it out to bid, a prior contract project manager who has been working with me since the beginning of the project left the project in the spring as a result of a serious medical condition. So I was fortunate through a referral from TEC Engineering to find a new project manager, and I just put him under contract. He is a retired Procter & Gamble engineer who has decades of facilities redevelopment experience under his belt and is now just doing part-time work. He is working in Coleraine to help them deliver $12 million in new actual firehouses for their fire department, and agreed to take on our project, although much smaller project, to help get us over the finish line. So I just wanted to share his credentials with all of you, if you want to mind passing that around. His name is Bob Shaw, and from the moment I first met him, it's 5:30 a.m. text and phone calls and late night and weekend emails. He is really on the ball, and he's going to be a great asset to us to wrap up the firehouse and take it to bid. No, we went over in a lot of detail last week already, a number of these things. I don't know that there's anything new, so I'm going to just wrap up there unless anybody has any questions about something specifically.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay. Any questions about the Economic Development Quarterly Report?
Mr. Montgomery's next report will be in January. Quarterly report will be in January for October, November, December of this year.
Okay. Then we move on to the police report with Lieutenant Neighbor.
Okay, as far as this month is concerned, I really don't have a lot to share, except that we've been having a lot of thefts from autos and thefts of autos. Very much a spike in the Viewpoint area. Please lock your cars, please keep your keys out of your cars. Although with the Hyundais and the Kias being able to get into them pretty quickly and out the door, I don't know what more we can do except inform everybody about that. Toys for Tots ended very well. Like I was explaining to Mr. Schramm here earlier, we had a lot of success this year for the Toys for Tots program. So thank you all to the community members that decided to bring up toys. So that was wrapped up actually today. Lastly, I wanted to thank everybody's hard work in getting the cars for the fleet, for getting the fleet up to date, and preparing for the next year in advance. Finally got the last car at our headquarters, and it's getting ready to be fixed up and put into service here shortly. So that's all I have for the police report.
Okay. Any questions about the police report?
Thank you.
Okay.
I was just wondering, gasoline, have you had any reports on people taking gasoline out of vehicles?
No one has come to us about it. You know, that's one of those things that I always wondered that we would start seeing that a little bit more, especially with the cost of gas going up, but I haven't seen it. Or at least nobody's reporting it, I should say.
Well, there is on Erling Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and just come on up whenever you can.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
They're siphoning out gas from cars on the street, parked on the street or parked in driveways.
Parked in the street.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll add an extra patrol.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Next, let's talk about the Little Miami Fire District and the Deer Park Silverton Fire District with Mr. Lamar.
A little bit of updates here. I think for Deer Park Silverton, everything is going really smooth, knock on wood. And Chief Beater's here. Hello. And was looking at the numbers, and everything looks really good for that district, transferring it over in March to Deer Park Silverton. So I'm really excited about that. For Little Miami Joint Fire District, a few things. Number one, they had their breakfast with Santa, pancake breakfast, one of my favorite things of the year to do, and the community was really out in full force. It was awesome to see so many people in both Fairfax and Columbia Township and probably other neighborhoods that came and got to interact with the firemen and see Santa and eat some pancakes. That was fun. And then I wanted to mention a little bit about the kind of the future of the Little Miami Joint Fire District. And as most people know, we had a levy on the ballot that passed this past November, and that was part of the future of the stability of the district. And as being a board member, along with Ms. Taylor, we're part of that. And I want to mention the other phases were, number one, kind of getting the district down to its 2 original members was important for the long-term stability of the district. The second piece, I think, was this tax levy, so we can, Chief Sifke is here, align to his budget, especially with equipment. Our equipment is very old. If you're following that fire department, our ambulances and fire trucks are very, very old. So that's adding a lot of stability and gives Chief Sifke a lot of ability to start planning a little bit more long-term. And then I wanted to thank Mike Lemon, because he has been instrumental in putting together, I don't know how many Excel spreadsheets he has put together with different scenario planning, and I know that you've been involved behind the scenes.
For the 10-year operations and 10-year capital equipment plans.
Yes, and he still continues to be involved, and I'm really excited about the future of that district. I feel like, at least since I've been a trustee here, we're more stable now than we've ever been. And so I'm really excited about the future of that district and stability, and I can't wait to get a new ambulance, a new fire truck, and have a big party.
Agreed. And just as a reminder, as I've always said, it's been underfunded, and now I think it's going to be properly funded. So it's nothing against the firefighters, the fire chiefs, et cetera. It's more of just getting our ship in order, since there's two fire departments within a mile of each other, which is a complete joke. I'll say that all day long. And because of it, we've had an underfunded fire department. We've now got everything moving in the right direction, a great fire chief, and it's going in a great direction. And
Absolutely.
Thanks to all the residents that came out in full force and passed the levy, because our last meeting was the day that everybody was out working on that. So, and thanks to the chiefs plural, but in this case the chief, for the hard work you did of getting out and getting people to be made aware of the levy.
Well, I appreciate the community support that really showed, and I'm excited. Thank you.
Chief Meter, do you have any?
Just wish everybody happy holidays, and looking forward to a bright 2023.
Yes. Not fire bright, but bright. All right. Okay. Any questions about the fire district stuff? Okay, then we move on to trustees' reports. We'll start with Susan. You have anything to report?
My street looks wonderful. We have so many new trees. It looks like a park, it really does. And
That's awesome.
we are extremely happy. I met Jerry, and what a nice guy.
He's amazing.
Great stuff.
But we're happy.
Right. I know your street, there were a number of streets that did not have trees in many of the areas. And so when Jerry put together the priority plan, he looked at where trees could make the most impact, where the canopy was missing. That's his terminology. We learned a whole new vocabulary with this project. But he measured the tree canopies and determined where the tree canopy is lacking, which contributes to the quality of the community, the feel of the safety, all the things that we've talked about before. And there were a number of streets, as we talked about earlier, that just were missing intersections of trees for whatever reasons. They may have grown and been cut down or died or whatever reason. And so he established that priority list, and we rolled with it without interfering with it, and he was right.
My street's beautiful.
It's nice to
Thank
hear
you.
that. And our luminary night in our neighborhood was on Sunday, and everybody always gets up and compliments how much great things we're doing here at the township. And the NED program, I think, has been a great program in terms of just improving, the neighborhoods and getting great feedback. So kudos to you, Melissa. I know that was a lot of work. You didn't run anybody off like the field crews, right?
No.
Almost, no.
No, not at all.
So I think
We
it's
have
been
a great
program,
time.
and it's
We
great
work
to hear from
hard.
Caroline from Ridgewood being happy with the lights and things. That was the objective of putting it together, is to upgrade and sense of pride in the neighborhood. So it's all good.
Well, remember, it was your idea when we received the first medical marijuana check. Let's put this money into the neighborhoods. Don't know how many more we'll get. Don't know how big they'll be. Let's do something different with this. And, we pulled together a team and discussed it. We still, even though I've delivered projects for 35 years, had no understanding of the scope of what that project was going to entail, because we wanted it to be significant and we wanted it to fit what the residents wanted. So that's why we went for the vote through Spotify and the telephone votes and providing options, and then the deployment of each one of the specific programs. And this is only year one. We have another year to go. So more really cool things coming soon to a neighborhood to you. But that program challenged us, and we're not new to program development or project delivery, just because of the sheer volume of poles and trees and signs and spread of all the different neighborhoods, and then watching the budget.
And you got to be consistent with making sure that everybody gets their fair share of
Yeah.
what and how you do that. So
And direct grant, the direct grants to all the HOA neighborhoods. That was an entirely standalone program, part of NET as well. Those HOA neighborhoods, what could they proposed to us, what improvements they wanted in their neighborhood. We coordinated the grants, and so it is changing the community.
Well, and I know
It's a
you-
huge program.
You mentioned I had a hand in the idea, but put that aside, as Thomas Edison said, invention's 90% or 1% inspiration, 99% is inspiration. In this case, 1% idea, 99% of it is the execution of it, so.
Well, you guys keep up the 1%, we're doing the
No,
99.
I agree. We come with an idea.
We feel it.
Let's throw a community event and wear
Yeah.
these guys out, so no, really.
No.
Congratulations with Lauren being new and Kim and everybody,
Yeah.
and everybody being a part of it.
Yeah,
And-
it was all hands on deck.
Yes, and Dustin and.
Out in the
two, three
field and in
guys.
the office.
So, but it's fun to see it all come together and everybody happy, so kudos to everything. Okay, with that, we move on to communications. Any questions about the communications?
I just want to give a shout out to Lauren, our resident care coordinator. She continues to take our resident communications program to the next level. And even with Facebook, which isn't the only communication that we do, she always picks terrific photographs that are interesting, that'll catch people's eye, and then does fun content that's informative and gets the message across, and really is attracting a lot more friends, and just really is a great thing that she is doing. And it's also archival because we can look back and see, oh yes, we did that and we did that, and so really appreciate that. Each month the communications section gets fatter and fatter, and that's thanks to her.
Great job, Lauren. Okay, now we move on to the resolutions. Go back to you, Melissa.
Back to me. So of the first 3 resolutions, we're actually going to do 2, and then I'm going to postpone 1 to the next meeting. Some numbers did not come in on time that we were expecting. So I'm going to start out with the supplemental resolution 2260 to supplement Resolution 2157, 2021, the Columbia Township 2022 annual appropriation, and supplemental appropriations 2213, 2218, 2219, 2227, 2236, 2239, 2242, 2246, and 2253. It is typical when we get to the very end of a budget year that we have made adjustments to the budget, and so we just have a couple of adjustments to the budget in this meeting relating to overtime and some other expenditures involved in the delivery of a number of our programs this month and last month because of the number of programs that we're delivering. So do I have any questions? So I read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to pass?
So moved. To her second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
All right, the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next resolution, also financial, 2261, requesting the county auditor to make an advance payment of taxes. This resolution we typically pass at the beginning of the year. It enables communities, in the event we need funds, sooner than the auditor sends the settlement for real property taxes, which is twice a year, that we can get them up to 30 days early. We have not requested that this year, but the auditor prefers that we have this on file, and so we're doing some housekeeping with this. It's very common. Other communities do it. We do it at the Little Miami Fire District as well. So are there any questions? All right. Next, in future years, this will be back on the January agenda. I've read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to pass?
So moved. To her second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
The resolution is adopted. So we have a couple of resolutions under emergency. The first one, Resolution 2263, authorizing the administrator to reimburse WP Elm LLC for construction of Pear Lane sanitary sewer extension through the Pear Elm Street easement, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. This is the first project from the ARPA grant, which is the Federal Stimulus, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and the board previously passed two resolutions. Passed Resolution 4-1 to designate that you will use some of the ARPA funds toward sanitary sewer construction in the neighborhoods where we have the opportunity to bring sanitary sewer in working with MSD. And also you passed legislation authorizing WP land to construct sanitary sewer in our right-of-way. This is the final piece authorizing me to reimburse WP land after they build an extension through the new easement. And then a future project in 2023, we will, the township, go out for bid to directly construct a sewer on Elm. So this is just a reimbursement for WP land agreeing to extend the sewer up through a new easement that they're dedicating to us for no cost. Do I have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So that was the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second
So
to
moved.
pass?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency
So
clause?
moved. So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
I neglected to mention in my comments that the cost will not exceed $37,300. The ARPA grant is $475,000, but this is the first expenditure of the ARPA grant not to exceed $37,300 for that sewer extension. So I apologize about that. All right. Next, emergency resolution. Reappointing Michael Lemon as special advisor to the Board of Trustees for the period of January 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2023, authorizing the terms of appointment, dispensing with the second reading, and declaring an emergency. Interesting, Trustee Lamar, that you brought up in discussions about the Little Miami Fire District, the long-range sustainability plan that you put into place, and right when I started, we had major actions in 2020, 2021, which was the reorganization of the district, as you said, and then in 2022, the 10-year planning for operations and capital, and then the levy. And the next step is to look at how to reduce the debt, or the cost of the debt on the firehouse, which will free up additional working capital. So we're going to ask Mr. Lemon to continue working with us for another 6 months as we push through this final phase of that. No terms have changed in the contract. Do you have any comments or questions? None? So you've heard the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second?
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second to pass the
So
resolution?
moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the
So
emergency clause?
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay. 3 resolutions that are one reading with dispensing with the second reading. The first is related to the Walton Creek Road improvement. I'll read the title and then give a couple talking points. Authorizing an advance of funds from General Fund 1000 to finance certain reimbursable expenditures related to Walton Creek Road Improvement Project and dispensing with the second reading. A reminder of Walton Creek Improvement Project, which we brought also legislation before you this year on a couple of different matters. We're going to be adding a southbound turn lane to improve, reduce the backup that occurs at Muchmore and Walton Creek in partnership with Hamilton County Engineers Office. And we're going to add a sidewalk from Wooster Pike, US 50, our business district, and at connectivity to the sidewalk to the crosswalk that crosses over to 50 West, from US 50 past Walgreens north to Elm Street. So that entire neighborhood on the west side, the Pear, Spring, Elm, Orchard neighborhood, and then the new apartment neighborhood on the east side will have access to a sidewalk to take them down to the business district, and also it connects with the bus route. So we were eligible, and we applied for and already received 2 grants for totaling more than $100,000 toward the project. The project will be around $190,000, $200,000, depending on when the bids come in, which we will bid it this week, and then make a decision and then construct it in early 2023. So this allows us, because when we learned that Dial Residential was going to build the Trailside Apartments, because that is a commercial development, we put into place a new TIF to capture property tax revenues from the community and use it for public infrastructure improvement along Walton Creek. And so this advances funds out of our general fund as a loan to the TIF until the apartment community is built and starts to cash flow into the TIF, and then the TIF will pay the township's general fund back. So we've done this with Firehouse, the purchase of the in Plainville, a couple of other TIFs as well. So it's a standard procedure that is required. We're basically loaning ourselves money from one checkbook account to another checkbook, and then it will be paid back. So this project will be paid entirely through grants and through the property tax revenues off of the apartment community project. And so none out of our accounts. Any questions? Okay. So I have read the title. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The next resolution is a contract to renew our agreement with Alloy Development, which formerly was known as Hamilton County Development Company. So Dustin Montgomery, who handles our economic development coordination with all of our small and mid-sized businesses. Dustin also was instrumental on the development of our NED program. He is a phenomenal resource to us, and I spend several hours a week working with him on projects. And so this is a renewal of that contract. The contract is $28,230 for the year, which is just a few percent over where it was last year. It's a really good value for our money. Any comments or questions?
He does a great job, so.
He does. Thank you. So I may have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
May I have a motion and a
Yes.
second to, I'm sorry.
That's all. Had to take a breath, I'm sorry.
Sorry. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Now, last but not least, here we go.
Best for last.
Oh, this might be contentious.
So this one's close. So the next resolution is close to my heart. This is, can you believe it? I have been here 3 years.
And we still call
Almost
you
3
rookie.
years. And you still call me new.
Yeah,
Not
I'm an
rookie.
administrator. That is funny.
Not rookie. Yeah, I think that was a year one joke.
Okay.
So I want to share with all of you, I cannot believe how quickly the time has flown. Recall when I started, within a few weeks, COVID hit. And it was, everybody manned the battleships. It threw everything into an absolutely critical public safety mode. Yet despite that, we have set records the last 3 years. We've set records for how many grants we applied for and received. We've set records for direct application and also for managing grants through the stimulus process. We have invested at a record level in our small businesses, in our business districts, and through programs that we've launched like NED, also in our neighborhoods. And we also have conducted safety improvements at a record level. This is not all me. This is because we have a united board that all three of you have interesting perspectives that you bring to the table that allows us to meet the needs of different diverse neighborhoods and different diverse populations and our different business districts. And so we add all of you together and that you're professional and there's no drama and you have a professional administrator, we have been able to get so much done. And a big piece of it also is having money to do so because of really good decisions that have been made. So in addition to this being the first time that we have received payments through our medical marijuana host sharing, revenue sharing agreements, we've been able to do a significant number of investments in the community, and we're still going on that. And then also, what I call on the theme of other people's money, which is something that you were already doing, and I just coined that phrase here, is we put into place 2 new TIF districts, one that was greatly needed, which was Plainville, Madison Place, that is going to enable us to redo the firehouse, redevelop the Madison Place Firehouse into a community senior and event center and township headquarters, as well as redevelop purchase buildings that are being underutilized and turn them into buildings that attract and people from throughout the neighborhood, throughout the community, and throughout other communities, and are open to external facing instead of closed. And that all comes through the TIF as well as be able to get caught up on significant number of road improvement projects and drainage improvement projects in that area as well. We also, as I mentioned earlier, set up a new TIF for Walton Creek. And another example of how we're looking ahead when a new project happens, that we can collect that tax revenue, put it into public infrastructure, which the law allows, which preserves more of our general funds to do projects in other parts of the community. So I also know that we've done, and it's been really enjoyable to do, although it's been an enormous amount of work, we've made a more significant effort to reach out to residents and businesses through social media. So, started the podcast program, which, was your idea as well, and Brian, when he came on board, jumped in, and we've had great success with the podcast program. And also have been doing a lot of social media. We started the Great Things Are Happening in Columbia Township, a news magazine more format instead of a newsletter, format, more pictures, more interesting type of copy. So it's been an amazing 3 years. We have a lot of important projects that are almost to the finish line. The firehouse, through the grants that we did for the promenade to do a permanent outdoor dining plaza there. Again, other people's money. We're getting ready to go to bid for that as well. The sewer project that I mentioned earlier, we have completed 5 full road reconstructions as well. And we're looking at a couple more next year. So I want to thank you for the time, and I'm asking if you're interested in a renewal of my 3-year contract. And the only change that I asked to any of the terms, they all stay the same from the original contract from 3 years ago. The only change that I've asked is an additional week of vacation. Not sure when I'll take it, but I'd like to have it. So, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to work for you. It was a tough decision for me to leave a job that I loved, but I used to live here, and I knew all of you, and I knew this would be a phenomenal place to work, and that we would really work well together and do big things, and we are doing that.
We love having you on our team, so thank you.
Thank you.
We're honored that you want to continue here. Because there are other opportunities for you to get pulled out and go elsewhere, and I see, being in the development business, a lot of other communities, and I think we're blessed to have somebody that has got the strong leadership and the creative and dynamic ability to go out and get all these grants and everything else from day one. So we can't say it enough, even if we bicker at you sometimes, we like you. Okay. So
Can I add something really quick?
Absolutely.
I really appreciate, I'm so glad you're staying on for another 3 years. And someone had reached out to me a few months ago from another community and asked how we're making so much money and doing so in our community. And as of June, so you've been here a little bit over 2 years, $4.7 million in grants won. That is a lot of money for our little township that we don't have to raise taxes. And that doesn't count all the TIFs, all the other hard work that this administration does. That's just the tip of the iceberg, is the grant money. We have to find the time to actually do all the stuff that we're doing. You mentioned earlier, right? We've added a lot of responsibilities to the team. And so I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
bet the one guy that ran off our crew doesn't appreciate you, but the rest of us do. Yeah.
Just
Our
keep getting the
crew had a
grants.
lot of fun. Yes,
That's what we like.
yeah, those are definitely a lot of work.
Okay, then let's go back on with the resolution.
So, reappointing Melissa Taylor as Township Administrator, effective April 1, 2023, authorizing the Township Administrator's terms of appointment and dispensing with the second reading. So, I've read the title, may have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
3 more years of wedded bliss,
There you go.
or something like that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, next I make a motion to approve the payment of bills, bank reconciliation, and financial reports. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Make a motion to, for the signing of minutes and resolutions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
And last but not least, I make a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, can I say something really quick about
Absolutely.
the Ridgewood? I know Lenny listens, and that's the main reason I wanted to get this in before we close. So if Lenny is still listening, which I bet she is, this is for you because we love you.
We do.
There was a small concentration of people in the Ridgewood neighborhood that we found out had experienced a lot of power outages, or some power outages this year, and I wanted to mention that a lot of work has been going on behind the scenes, primarily by Ms. Taylor, with hours and hours and hours speaking to Duke Energy, and there are some substantive things that have happened and some more that will come. A couple of highlights, mostly, is that we've worked with Duke, but there's a lot of smart grid technology updates to the neighborhood that happened this year, will continue to happen next year. If you Google smart grid with Duke Energy, you'll see all the benefits that provides. Duke has also identified some trees in the neighborhood that they feel are the ones that are most damaging, but will fall on the power lines with all the storms and the wind, and they're sending notifications to those residents that they're going to be taking 12 of them.
Danger trees.
Danger trees, taking them down. And there's more information that we will distribute to the neighborhood. I know it's frustrating. Whenever there's a power outage, it's horrible. When there's multiple, it gets very, very frustrating. So I hate it for that neighborhood. But we're working, especially the administration is working tirelessly with Duke Energy for a series of things that should provide more stability.
And Duke Energy has been responsive. We've been working with them since spring because we had spring storms, and then we had summer tornadoes, and then we had the recent damaging winds, and we have high winds expected as that national weather system moves through overnight and tomorrow. I want to say that we appreciate that the residents have been communicating with Brian, and then Brian with me, and then Brian and I have been talking to Duke. Duke has been responsive. Duke has been professional. They've pulled in experts from a number of different disciplines, people from the field, people who have expertise in the data on why the outages are occurring, and all of those different disciplines in between, and they give us their full attention and a lot of material, and so we're just working to kind of condense it down and make sure that we get it out to everyone in the neighborhood. But short story, as you said, some improvements are on the way. First up, 12 trees that were identified as causing faults along the pole-to-pole rear-loaded power system that they're in the process to remove, which will reduce those problems, and then future, as you said, smart grid updates.
And I know initially I was reached out to and responded, and Brian has decided to take the lead. And just to remind people with sunshine laws, it's not that the rest of the trustees aren't engaged and aware, but when one person takes the lead, the other kind of acquiesce and just kind of get briefed on it. A couple other notes, as you mentioned this, and this probably should have gotten the trustees' reports, is also for anybody that's interested in the bike trail and what's going on, or the, what do we call it, the
Columbia Connector and the
Columbia
Marymount Connector.
But what's the overall thing? It's the Little Miami.
The Little Miami Scenic
Little
Trail.
Miami Scenic
Trail, otherwise known as the bike trail down behind Wooster Pike and such. We did a deep dive podcast on it
Yes.
for the people over in Columbia G or the Wooster Pike corridor that want to understand what's going on next, what's the timing. That's on our podcast, which you get on our website. And the only other thing I did think we forgot to mention, and I think it's important, is what the coffee shop, the Madison Place Coffee Shop, has done to that corridor down there on Plainville Road. Melissa and I have had a couple meetings here recently, and what's really cool is the Woostie dealership across the street gives gift cards when you go in and give service that sends people across the street, and how just nice to see one big business support the other business, and what that's meant to them means that other people go into that wonderful coffee shop that have never been there from all over the city, and that's the kind of stuff that where it really makes a difference, and people start talking about this cool little coffee shop in Madison Place. And again, kudos to the Porsche dealership for, sometimes if they got hammered for other reasons, we won't get into that, but it's really terrific to see how important they like to go help promote those other businesses. So I think they deserve a really positive shout out, because I think now that it's done, those two businesses have really done a lot to improve the aesthetics and the financial stability of the Plainville corridor over there in Madison Place. So thank you to both of you, thank you, and Merry Christmas to everybody. And now I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Think about it.